Yeah, I'm going to read a couple sections from Visions of Cody, which is the other book that Jack Kerouac wrote about his great friend Neil Cassidy. Of course, Neil appears and On the Road as Dean Moriarty, and in this book he appears as Cody Pomeroy. And I think Jack thought of this book as an in-depth study of Neil. And in fact, a lot of it was written in Neil Cassidy's house on Russell Street in San Francisco, 1952. Following Lee Konitz, the famous alto jazz man, down the street and don't even know what for. Saw him first in that bar on the northeast corner of 49th and 6th Avenue, which is in a real old building that nobody ever notices because it forms the pebble at the hem of the shoe of the immense tall man, which is the RCA building. I noticed it only the other day while standing in front of Howard Johnson's eating a cone, or rather it was too crowded for me to get a cone. I was just standing there and I was thinking, New York is so immense it would make no difference to anybody's ass if this building exists and is owned. Lee, who wouldn't talk to me even if he knew me, was in the bar, for which I made many phone calls, waiting with big eyes for his friend to show up, so I waited on the corner to think, and soon I saw Lee coming out with his friend who had arrived, and it was Arnold Fishkin, the Tristano bass player. Two little Jewish Gazatsky fellows they really were as they cut across the street, and Konitz in that manner that was forceful, and I said to myself, he can take care of himself even though he goofs and does April in Paris from inside out as if the tomb is the room he lived in is going out at midnight with his coat on. But I haven't heard him for weeks and weeks. Both of them real small among the crowds. Fishkin at 5'3" or such, and Konitz 5'6" or such. Cutting along, so I follow, and they turn west at 48th. I go across the street, temporarily bemused first by a sign for a large furnished room with cooking privileges and bath, and a beat sort of hidden tenement smack in the cunt of Midtown. But how can I live there or even be like Lee Konitz, cutting around the world with men and women? My father told me to take care of my mother on his deathbed. These my thoughts. And where do you think they go but Manny's, the music store of hipsters and Symphony Sid, which, however, at this moment is strangely connected with the feeling I had had while waiting for Konitz, looking over big buildings to see Atlantic clouds blowing in from sea, and realizing sea is bigger even than New York, and that's where I ought to be. It's filled with a whole crew of sailors apparently in the store to buy equipment for a big whaling Oom-Pa-Pa Navy band. Konitz goes completely unrecognized by them. Although the Danny Richmond-like owners know Lee so well, they don't say to him as I would, "Where are you playing now, great genius?" They say, "When you leaving?" knowing already of his road plans. Lee buys reeds or such in a box, almost, but not quite big enough for an alto, and already packed and waiting for him. Then he and Fishkin cut around the corner, as I followed through a sea of crowds, the mysterious marble lobby of big office buildings, cut right upstairs on foot. In fact, a whole bunch of hip-looking guys are coming out to do the same, avoiding elevators. And I study board to find out big deal on second floor, walkout floor, but nothing. So the mystery remains, though I still say it must be a music school. This is typical of my lostness and loneliness. I go around dressed like a bum with a seedy envelope, having no Fishkins to walk with, unless I'm drunk. I spend my time watching the frenetic lights of Times Square. A huge current Quo Vadis montage goes up almost as high as Astor Hotel roof. A blue light woman tied to a stake. It goes higher than her head in blue light eries and neons, burning a painting of Rome that has in it 18th century tenements of Pittsburgh, quite Georgian and also Greek Parthenons. MGM presents, running, then blinking, then shivering, then in the climax running, blinking, shivering as if coming. And this sign is bigger than next door's 10 tall men. big enough, the biggest I ever saw till Paul bought us, and I am lonely and small in all this. Good night. Mad road, lonely, leading around the bend into the openings of space towards the horizon Wasatch snows promised us in the vision of the west. Spine heights at the world's end, coast of blue Pacific starry night. No bone, half banana moons sloping in the tangled night sky, the torments of great formations and mist. The huddled, invisible insect in the car racing onwards illuminates. The raw cut, the drag, the butte, the star, the draw, the sunflower in the grass. Orange-budded west lanes of Arcadia, forlorn sands of the isolate earth, dewy exposures to infinity and black space, home of the rattlesnake and the gopher. The level of the world, low and flat, the charging, restless, mute, unvoiced road keening in a seizure of tarpaulin power into the roof. Fabulous plots of landowners and green unexpecteds. Ditches by the side of the road as I look and hear the Elko along the level of this pin parallel to the telephone poles. I can see a bug playing in the hot sun. Swash! Hitch yourself a ride beyond the fastest freight train. Beat the smoke, climb the thighs, spin the shiny, throw the shroud, kiss the morning star in the morning glass, mad road driving men ahead. Pencil traceries of our faintest wish in the travel of the horizon merged. Nosy cloud upfusks in a drabble of speechless distance. The black sheep clouds cling a parallel above the schemes of the CBQ. Serried little Missouri rocks haunt the Badlands. Harsh, dry brown fields roll in the moonlight like a shiny cow's ass. Telephone poles, toothpick time, dotting immensity. The crazed voyager of the lone automobile presses forth his eager insignificance in nose plates and licenses in the vast promise of life. Choice of tragic wives and moons. Drain your basins in old Ohio and the Indian and the Illini plains. Bring your big muddy rivers through Kansas and the mudlands, Yellowstone and the frozen north. Punch lake holes in Florida and LA. Raise your cities in the White Plain. Cast your mountains up. Be Dawes the West. Be Dyke the West with brave hedgerow cliffs rising to Promethean heights and fame. Plant your prisons in the basin of the Utah moon. Nudge Canadian groping lands that end in Arctic bays. Pearl your Mexican redneck America. Cody's going home. Going home.